Each Palm Sunday, we start the day in celebration. Jesus enters Jerusalem with people waving palm branches and shouting, Hosanna. But our celebration ends in the loneliness of the cross. Jesus' death wasn't what the people of Jerusalem had expected, at least not the ones that gathered along the road that day. They expected a different outcome. After all, the palm branch had been a politically charged symbol of liberation during the Maccabean revolt of Judea against the Greek Empire, and that had been more than 100 years earlier. The Maccabean revolt began as guerrilla warfare and ended up as a full-fledged military rebellion that led to the first period of independence the Jewish people had experienced in more than 500 years. So the palm branches waved by the people as Jesus passed by would have been associated with a nationalist military victory. But that wouldn't happen this time. And in choosing a different path forward, Jesus exposed the myth of redemptive violence. The myth of redemptive violence is a phrase coined by the theologian Walter Wink, and it refers to the belief that the victory of good over evil can be obtained through violence, that peace can be reached through war, and that might can make right. It's been a core belief through most of human existence, and the myth of redemptive violence is still deeply embedded in our culture today. Wink uses children's cartoons as an example. When the villain Bluto kidnaps Olive Oyl in pretty much every episode of Popeye, Popeye eats a can of spinach, sprouts a muscular build, pummels Bluto, and rescues Olive Oyl. Redemptive violence. Another example. In Star Wars, led by the light or good side of the Force, the hero Luke Skywalker uses a torpedo to destroy the evil Empire's Death Star, thereby letting goodness reign supreme, at least until it inevitably raises its head once again, just as threatening as ever. Of course, those two examples are merely the tip of the iceberg. All around us, we are told that violence can restore goodness, peace, and order to the world. But we know that's not true. The Easter Day massacre of Christians in Sri Lanka in 2019 was in retaliation for the attack on a mosque in New Zealand the month before. In 1995, Timothy McVeigh, who was sympathetic to anti-government groups and militias, bombed the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City. And that was in retaliation for FBI and ATF raids that had turned deadly before, such as Ruby Ridge and Waco. The idea that violence can be redemptive, that it can truly be the source of something good, is false. Violence ultimately begets more violence. Jesus shows us a different way. The story of the cross is not one of passive cowardice. It's not one of a refusal to challenge an oppressive status quo. It's not that. And the story of the cross is also not a story of confronting oppression through even more violence. So it's not the story of a passive cowardice, scared to confront the status quo, and it's also not the story of confronting the oppressive status quo through more violence. Instead, the cross is a third way. It's the way of sacrificial, nonviolent love. Richard Rohr writes, "On the cross, Jesus receives our hatred and does not return it. He suffers and does not make others suffer. He does not use his suffering and death as power over others to punish them, but as power for others to transform them. The cross is finally about how to stand against hate without becoming hate yourself. The cross is finally about how to stand against hate without becoming hate yourself. This is the third way, the way of Jesus. Today we begin our walk through Holy Week. We're going to hear a lot about the cross, and it would be easy to focus on only the suffering that marks the final days of Jesus' life. So here's something to remember. It's been said that it is not suffering, not even the suffering of Jesus, that makes this week holy. Rather, it is holy because of the inexplicable and immeasurable love that prompted the suffering. It is this love that takes center stage this week. As our journey through to Easter morning tells us, salvation does not come by violence or by force. Instead, salvation comes to us through the outpouring of love. Jesus exposes the myth of redemptive violence for the lie that it is, and Jesus reveals what is true, that only love can transform the world.